Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast. This is our couples podcast. This is my husband Lawrence and I'm Michelle Kane. Today we are going to be talking about how we get our children to eat healthy. So as a nutritionist and someone who I used to work at a supplement store, so we'll talk a little bit about vitamins. And I married a man that grew up on the standard American diet.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about like the foods that you grew up with and how different it was.
When it's just your classic. I mean, you had your Wonder Bread and your deli meat and and it's just the normal stuff. Your chips, your frozen pizzas, all your classic grocery store. We didn't ever go in the organic aisle. That was like the weird half aisle at the far end of the store where everything tasted like crap and was expensive.
Was organic a big deal back in the?
It was there, but like I said, it was a well, I'm thinking more like early 2000s would be more relevant to me.
Oh yeah.
But like the organic section was like a half of an aisle at the far end. That was pretty much all it ever was. And growing up in the grocery stores, and you hardly ever saw anybody there. Like when I started working in a grocery store, you like stocked that area like once a week. No one shopped in it.
It used to be people had gardens because they couldn't afford the food. Like growing your own food, save money. Now it's like you have to have money to be able to grow your own food and raise your own animals. It's like the opposite of how it was. So when I was growing up, we had a grain grinder and we would grind our grains for making our own bread, and we had a garden, and if you screwed up, your punishment was an hour of weeding. Oh my goodness. The bane of my existence was weeding in the garden.
Yeah, we had a garden.
You had a garden? So what kind of stuff did you grow? And did you eat this food from the garden?
Oh yeah, we composted and everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about this.
We did corn and lettuce and strawberries and raspberries.
Okay, but the way that you eat salad, I just can't see you eating lettuce.
My mom ate most of the salad.
Yeah, I bet. So you guys just
ate the salad, and we had like the 4 pieces that were forced on us.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we ate corn. That was our vegetable.
So when we first got married, there was definitely an adjustment period. There was not the weekly or daily pizza that Lawrence was used to.
Well, it wasn't daily. I'd been in heaven if it was daily.
Well, okay, so you broke it up with frozen burritos and taquitos?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, there was a big adjustment for him because when we got married, I made my own cheese, I made my own bread, we ate a lot of nuts. We were super broke when we got married, and we actually were on food stamps for 6 months and had assistance with our heating bill the first winter we were married. We got off them as soon as we possibly could, obviously, but work was just really hard for Lawrence. He was finishing up his last year of college, and we would just use the money that we got from, the assistance to buy the healthiest food possible. Like I would go to Costco, and you can spend $6 on a bag of chips, and you could eat that whole bag in a couple days and be starving, literally starving. Or you could buy a 3-pound bag of nuts for $12, just twice the amount of money, but really nutrient dense, really calorie dense and healthy fats. And you can feed yourself for a couple weeks. And so that's what we would do. We would buy really nutrient dense foods, and it really got us by, and it really it added to our health instead of took away from it.
Yeah. And
so we've really tried to teach that to our children, and having the autoimmune diseases that I have and the family history of health issues that, pretty much everyone nowadays has. It's something that is just really important to us. And back in the day, I had tried to go to school for nursing. So when I went to college, I had all my prereqs done for the nursing program. And then I remember when I got into the nursing program, because I had worked at a supplement store for a year and a half-ish, I had fallen in love with herbs and nutrition. So when I went to actually be in the nursing program, just hearing the instructors talk about certain things, I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Like, this isn't what I care about anymore. Like, I want to work more on the preventative side of things. And, especially if you're listening and you have an autoimmune disease, when you have children and you start to see
the same issues.
Yeah, certain issues like, wow, this is ringing too loudly of my past. Like when you have a kid, say you have IBS, or like me, I have celiac, and IBS kind of runs with that. But you kind of see like the signs in your children. You're like, oh my goodness, we really need to always, like, this is a lifestyle. And now Lawrence, you know, we joke about how he used to eat, but he eats very healthy, super nutritious, and to the point where now he'll see the foods of his past and be like, ugh, like, so glad I've mended my ways and, you know, experienced
on
real
the flip
healthy
side,
food.
now that like gluten-free stuff has come a long ways.
I can make it healthy.
But I'm saying like now you can actually get those things that like, oh yeah, I remember that from 25 years ago, but now there's actually
just because
a
it's
good taste.
Free,
No, I know, but
healthy.
I'm saying like there's still an opportunity to like try it again years later, but a gluten-free version.
There are certain gluten-free products and brands out there that I see in the grocery store, and I'm just like, I've had that and it tastes disgusting. How is this company still in business? Like, I think it's the brand is Char, but their bread tastes literally like sawdust and like, it's just so gross.
The stereotypical.
Oh yeah, it's like the reason why people hear the word gluten-free and gag. Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't know how that company is still, but I shouldn't be knocking companies that way. That's kind of mean. But just, you know, homemade stuff. I really love homemade bread. If in a pinch or in the summer, it's way too hot to make bread because we don't have air conditioning in our house, I will buy gluten-free bread, like a good one that I know about. And that's just kind of how we roll with that. But our kids don't really eat sandwiches. They
really don't.
They really will eat like yogurt and peanut butter or yogurt and applesauce. Like, they're really big on fruits and veggies, and they'll make themselves eggs in the morning. They love meat. Gwendolyn loves lamb. She's just like, it's just so funny. I haven't posted.
She's so weird about so many meats, and then we just randomly get lamb, and all of a sudden it's like her favorite thing ever.
We just discovered this, so I still plan to make a video for it. I was gonna do it for Easter, but we were so busy with Easter that it never happened. But I did lamb in the Instant Pot with pesto, and it was so delicious. I just wanted to eat the whole thing. And apparently she did too, because she just like was drooling. She's like, what's for dinner tonight? And I said leftovers, and she's like, oh, is it that lamb? And then she does that tongue thing like, So I am still going to post that video, and also like how to use your Instant Pot if you have one, or maybe you just aren't quite sure how to use one. Because they're awesome. They're life-changing. I still love my crock pot, but the Instant Pot was a class that I used to teach. I should also do a cheesecake in the Instant Pot, because that was a really popular class that I also used to teach, and it's life-changing. You don't have to make a bath in your oven for your cheesecake anymore. It's very easy. But how we get our children to eat healthy is get them involved. And when I say that, I don't just mean having a garden, because obviously that is a huge perk when children grow their own food. Like, if they have planted seeds for green beans, or
it's like, hey, we're gonna have this for dinner, can you go pick some?
And
then they're excited because they'll go pick it, and then they'll bring it from outside, bring it inside, wash it, and put it into whatever is going, like, it's come from their hands and part of the meal.
Yeah. So them growing their own food is definitely a huge motivator for them. Like, they know exactly where it came from. Versus in the grocery store, you know, when you could buy cookies right next to zucchini, what do you think your kid's gonna pick? I mean, really, they're gonna pick the cookies. But it was so funny. Last summer I was gardening, and our youngest at the time, because I was pregnant with our youngest now, I had a bucket of zucchini. Like, if you've ever grown zucchini, you know you just have it coming out your ears, and you're shredding it and freezing it and giving it away. And I had a bucket of zucchini, and there were probably like 10 or 12 in it. And I'm going to pick like green beans or something else. And I come back to the bucket, and half of them are out of the bucket. And I'm looking around, and I see them all, you know, spread out, and they all have little bite marks on them.
You just took little samples of every single one of them.
Testing all of them. And then there was another time where I had left the bucket inside our front door and put him in the house, and I was just like taking off my shoes and brushing off dirt and doing something outside, and I come in and he's standing on our coffee table just eating a zucchini. Like, kids really do.
Not from the end, he goes for the middle.
He goes for the middle. I'm like, why? But the other thing is involving them in cooking and baking and anything you do in the kitchen. And I made one video. I plan to make a lot more, but on macaroni and cheese. Like, growing up, we all love macaroni and cheese. And although, you know, I get comments from both spectrums, like, well, that's stupid. You shouldn't be, like, why would you promote healthy things and be making macaroni and cheese? It's
I can't make my own noodles.
Well, you can.
I know.
Yeah, you just make gnocchi, and it'd be you can make gluten-free gnocchi. But anyway, I added cauliflower rice and collagen peptides and sausage to it, for protein and vegetables and all the good stuff. And here's the thing, like, I don't like diets. I don't like extreme mindsets. I loved macaroni and cheese growing up, and I don't want to deprive my kids of those like simple little childhood joys. I just want them to be healthy and have a good taste. Like, if you can train their taste buds for liking the way vegetables taste, it's going to make them never turn their nose up at
and so including those vegetables in something that they already like.
Yeah.
It makes it so much easier.
Our oldest, his first food ever as a baby, I think he was probably 7 months old, because at that point he probably had 4 teeth. And I breastfed all of them until they were well over a year. But when I did start giving them like little micro doses of food, it was avocado puree with bone broth in it to like make it thin, basically drinkable. And then, maybe only have a tablespoon or 2 at a meal. But then, it gradually gets better, but it gives them a really good taste for healthy food. And you just keep that going. Like, even now, instead of ice cream, we will make a lot of smoothies in the summer, and I'll put celery in it. You cannot taste celery or cucumbers in a smoothie with frozen blueberries and frozen banana protein powder.
Once you get berries in there, you can't, even like spinach and stuff, you can't taste it if you have enough.
Yes, and then when it turns green, we call that a monster smoothie. And the boys love that. Or, well, I'll put kale in it. And, I'm sorry, hold on. Yes, I am. Okay, and the other thing, I always include a healthy fat. So if I'm making them a smoothie, I will, like, cashew butters are really neutral tasting, healthy fat. With nut allergies, I know that's a little tricky. So you could use avocado or even frozen avocado for a creamier texture. Again, it's gonna make it green, so you just kind of have to like work with your kids and figure out how, if they're like, some kids are visual kids.
Yeah, some kids they want to make it.
That's why they won't eat mushrooms.
Or you have
those, that looks weird.
The vegetable powders where you can change the coloring.
Yes.
Like you get your whatever that is. Makes
my blue spirulina powder. Yeah. Oh my goodness, the kids demand that. You can
play with that, and then all of a sudden it's like every smoothie something cool because they can change the color of it. Yeah. Like again, with getting them involved, it increases their fascination and want for it. Like they'll try it even if it didn't seem appealing to them just because they had an input on what it looks like. Yeah, or if they're making it with you. Like, so our third child, he had like, not an aversion to eggs, but he was a picky eater, if you want to say that. He just goes through weird phases with what he likes, and he just. I feel like all kids do that. Yeah. Like they can't get enough avocados, and then you buy a bunch of avocados, and suddenly they're done with them for a year, which is like stop. But I got him involved. I got him making eggs with me, and have like hold his hand and sprinkle the seasoning in, and he ate all of them and wanted more. So sometimes it's just as simple as doing it with them. Children, they love you so much unconditionally. They just want to be with you. Oh yeah, I mean, like you just like sit them at a table together while she's baking something. Like you just go over here and mix, so he can just sit there and be mixing one thing for 5 or 10 minutes while she's doing stuff. Loves just so that he had some part in it. But I mean, our oldest, how young was he when you had him start making his eggs? Like he was 3. Yeah, he made his own eggs. He was 3, standing on a stool or standing up on a chair, stirring his eggs in the pan. Like we'd crack them for him obviously and light the stove and whatnot. But he wanted to be part of it because that was his eggs, and later on he got to pick like what herb he wanted to sprinkle on it. Those were his special. He called them his restaurant eggs because he got to make them all. I was just and then he would like he'd eat all of it every time because it was his eggs that he made for his breakfast. And now he's 9 years old, but last summer I always, basil's my favorite. Basil and cilantro are my absolute favorite herbs, and so I always have a basil plant. And so he would go out and he'd pick basil and he'd put it in his eggs, or we have chives and he'd come in from outside and he'd cut up chives with my scissors and put those in his eggs. So when he says restaurant eggs, he's not kidding. Like he's got like 2 different herbs in there and some salt. Than most restaurants I've been to for breakfast. Yeah. It was really funny. This is just a random story. I think when he was like
4. I had a huge basil plant outside, and I'm just like, oh, it's almost ready to make pesto, because you need so many basil leaves to make pesto. And I went outside to check on the kids, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, something's different. And I couldn't figure out what was different. And then I looked down at my basil plant, and there's just little tiny stems, like they had eaten
like a deer had run through.
plant of the basil. And I'm just like, what the heck, man? I was gonna make pesto, like a huge container of pesto, and you just ate it all. And our kids do the same thing with chives.
Our daughter is the chive. Like, you walk out like, there's no food. What are you guys eating? And
it smells like onions.
She's just this onion cloud following her everywhere.
Or you'll be like buckling them into their car seats, and you're like, oh, the onion breath is unreal. But
she comes in with the handle. Dad, you want some for your eggs? Like, nope, I'm good. I already smell it. I'm like, I'm already tasting it from your skin.
That's a little graphic. But it's just, I want to go back a little bit to the food coloring thing, because I mentioned the blue spirulina powder. Now, I've used that I don't know if I have more than one recipe on my channel where I've used that. I have an overnight oats recipe where I have used blue spirulina powder, and it's just so beautiful. And if I can figure out how to do that, because I'm still trying to figure out the YouTube thing and the editing, I'll put a picture somewhere around here of the cupcakes that I made for our son's birthday, because Thomas the Tank Engine is his favorite character, and he's blue, and the spirulina powder made the most beautiful blue frosting. I'm really against food dyes and food colorings for our kids, so much so that, again, I want our kids to have the fun childhood experiences, so we still take them trick-or-treating, we still do the Easter egg hunts, all the fun stuff, but then I will take their candy and I will swap it. Like, I trade them for a healthy version, or I'll say, can I buy your bag of candy for $3? And then I don't feel badly about either throwing that candy away or giving it away. It's really not real food in the first place. But I don't want them to miss out on the joy of the experience, like the activity. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't want to poison them with artificial food colorings. So I use the blue spirulina powder. There's also a beautiful, you can buy beet powder. And if you make a buttercream frosting, yes, it's still a lot of sugar, but pick your evil, right? We can't, again, we're avoiding extremes here. We don't want to lose out on the joy of having a big, beautiful birthday cake. And actually, birthday cakes are I just want more kids so I can just, make super birthday cakes all the time. It's just, so much fun. I love asking our kids, what kind of cake do you want for your birthday this year? And with our daughter, it's always an ice cream cake, or a butterfly cake. And then I figure out how to
butterfly ice cream cake this year.
Oh yeah, that is what she wants. I'll see if I can figure out how to do that. But there are different, colors that you can get. There's even a Facebook group where it's natural food dyes. And I know I was watching some things. We didn't color Easter eggs this year, but you can use beet water and from boiling or steaming beets, and you can use onion skins from red onions or even yellow onions, and for dyeing eggs and different things. But for coloring frostings and just different foods, maybe make a pink cake and put beet powder in it. There's just so many healthy alternatives. The very concept of having artificial food dyes in our country is ridiculous. It's so unnecessary.
Well, and it's just because it's so easy to make so many of those same colors with
turmeric,
basic vegetables and fruit dyes.
It's just I don't know what you would use for. Well, there's green spirulina and there's blue spirulina. There's turmeric for yellow, so you can start combining colors and making other colors. I just think that that's super fun, and getting the kids involved in that.
That's basically the point of people that have actually done the Easter egg dyeing. I mean, I remember growing up, it was vinegar and your dyes, and then you just mix a couple extra drops of this, you were just basically just color testing. I mean, it's basically the same thing. You're just mixing and matching different. See
what kind of colors you can come up with. Yeah. So those are just some ideas for you guys. I really do try, and if you don't follow me on Instagram, you can go over and follow me on Instagram. Sometimes I will take pictures of food, because I think that food is it's awesome. I love pictures of food. I love making food and all things food. And I will take pictures of our children's lunches for ideas, because a lot of people are like, well, I just don't know what to buy my kids for lunch, so they'll buy them granola bars, and you can make such healthy bars. I actually have a muesli bar recipe on the channel. You can go check that out. I really want to be a resource for parents and just everyone to, you know, eat your favorite foods, but healthify it and feed your children nourishing things so that they don't have the health problems that we have, and give them a better future.
They'll look forward to it. Like, they'll enjoy it. It won't be like, oh, I've got all the healthy food. It's like, you can make it to where they want that, and that they're, you know, I don't know, they don't feel like the weird kid eating all the healthy foods when all their friends have their Lunchables and everything else.
Oh, yuck. Lunchables. I forgot about that.
I had to pull out one of my 90s references.
Yeah. We were too broke for that. I mean, we had homemade bread, and like we raised our own pigs and stuff, so we'd like have our own bacon. We had a meat slicer, and I remember going to school and having the healthy lunch and being the weird kid. And now like when you go places, like when we first got married and I would make Lawrence his lunches for work, I made pigs in a blanket with Adele's chicken apple sausages and like a gluten-free, just like a pizza dough. And so they were these giant pigs in a blanket, and he would take them to work with like fruit and vegetables. Like, no matter what I do, I always include a fruit and vegetable. And people would drool over Lawrence's lunches. Like, I made healthier pizza pockets, like just loaded with meat and cheese and probably zucchini or some kind of vegetable, because again, that's who I am.
You snuck vegetables into me?
Yes, I did. Well, you mostly ate like a bag of celery and carrots. Like, that was your snack.
Yeah.
The celery and carrots. But you know, just it's just so fun. I just love food.
Yeah. Well, and with like the whole sneaking vegetables thing, like we said with smoothies and things like that. When you have kids that are going to be picky with vegetables, because a lot of them, most kids, at least to some degree, are going to be anti-vegetable.
Well, like, it's
especially
mostly
sometimes when there's
visual.
fruit. Yeah, because you have a lot of I mean, you'll have your carrots.
Yeah.
And maybe your broccoli.
Well, broccoli's so easy for kids because you're just like, this is a tree.
Yeah,
and like,
but it's like, but what I'm saying is when you can like merge it into something else, and then all of a sudden they don't realize that they just ate a third of a pound of broccoli in this dinner because it's mixed in with all the cheese and everything else. But you know, otherwise it would have taken you a week to get that much vegetables into them. But they got it all in one dinner because it's mixed into something that they enjoy or they were a part of or whatever else. Where you've been able to just mix it in with everything to where it's not isolated food groups. Because then the kids are gonna pick just the parts they want. And
all our children love soup. So anytime we have an animal butchered, whether it's a pig or a cow, I always ask for the bones from the butcher. And I've seen the price of bone broth in the store, and it is ridiculous. Like, if you're on my channel and you're like, Michelle, I can't afford bone broth. Like, it is insane. Like, where are you getting your money? We don't have money, okay? I do it all myself, and I figure out how to make it work. So I save all year to be able to buy our side of beef or, you know, however much of a pig we're getting. And I ask for all the bones, I ask for the organs, and we do stuff with them, like basically zero waste. I still have lard that I need to render. So, sheesh, we got that on. Oh, I gotta do that before summer. Yuck. Oh, shoot. Okay, so anyway, I ask for all that stuff, and I know that there are local butchers that you can go to, and you can ask for the bones, because you might even be able to get them for free.
So probably a lot of places are just getting rid of it. They have so much extras. Well,
I know when we got our pig, I asked for the lard, and she's like, how much lard do you want? And I was like, well, I don't know. And she's like, do you want like 20 pounds? Or like, she asked how much I want. And I said, yeah, why don't we start with that? And she's like, we have lard all the time. Like, you can just come and get lard. She was like ready to just
give us
hand it over. So you might be able to call around and find somewhere local that they don't need it. They're probably just going to throw it out.
And the thing is too with things like lard or the bones, that's coming from someone that's raised those animals.
Yes.
It's not like you're just buying some, you know, factory process thing. This is, you know, homegrown. Whatever, like with the pig, it's a homegrown lard that you can then render down and you can use for your own things, not be worried like this is the nasty Crisco essentially you're buying from a store. This is, you know, someone's homegrown animal that you're now using that byproduct from, and using it in whatever it's, you know, frying stuff or things like that.
And I will save containers. This is going to be what's the right word?
Controversial?
Controversial, yes, because I am the same way with plastics. I try to avoid plastics at all costs, but we still have them in our lives. We still have plastic freezer bags that I freeze vegetables in. And, you know, it's like, yes, we limit it in our everyday, but there are certain things like, I need plastic. So I will save like...
It's hard to freeze
yes.
30 glass jars of
no,
things
and then I've had jars break. I
Yeah.
have frozen jars before, and then they break in your freezer, and you're like, not only do you have a mess of glass, but then that whole thing is like, yeah, you don't want to risk that. So I will, for vegetables, I will put them in gallon freezer bags and freeze them flat on a cookie sheet. And then when they're frozen, you can just stack them in your freezer, and it really saves space. And for bone broth and things like that, you could do the same thing with gallon freezer bags, but then you risk a hole. And then when you're thawing it, yeah, it's an issue. So what I do is I will save like cottage cheese containers or yogurt containers if I'm not making my own yogurt. And basically I'll just use all those for bone broths and soups. And then those stack really nicely in your freezer as well. So our children love soup. I will use the bone broth and I will just like pull out a bag of shredded zucchini and we'll chop an onion and we'll put just, sometimes we'll put breakfast sausage or chopped sausage or ham bones, turkey carcass or steak bones where we couldn't get everything off the bone. And we'll just make giant pots of soup and we'll have soup for several days during the week in the winter time. And I will put any leftover soup or soup that I'm going to save. And it's kind of like meal planning, like meal prep or future meals. This is actually an excellent way to like plan for postpartum. I know a lot of moms follow me and watch my channel. If you can just make a giant pot of soup, it's basically like cook once and have weeks of food. You just put them back into the yogurt containers or cottage cheese containers, label them, freeze them, and then when you're postpartum and you need a really healthy, nourishing meal, you can just, whip out a healthy carb, whether it's like making up some quinoa or you make your sourdough bread or maybe your healthy carbs is sweet potato and you pull out your soup and then you just have like a super nourishing meal for your family. And you didn't even have to wait 30 minutes for the pizza guy to show up. It's just, it's just a better way to live, trust me. And it sounds like a lot of work and effort, especially if you're new at cooking or it intimidates you, but it's really not. Everything is intimidating until you do it for the first time. And then when you do it for the first time, you're like, sense of accomplishment. I am awesome. At least that's how I am. I remember like the first time I got an Instant Pot and I'm just like, oh my goodness. I think it sat for like a month and then I'm just, because I was afraid of it, I'm just looking at it and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this piece of equipment. And then I mastered it. And then I taught a cooking class with it. And now I use it all the time and I still teach people how to use their Instant Pots. So everything is daunting and intimidating until you just do it. And then your family can benefit for your entire life and you're teaching your kids skill sets. So I think that's pretty much it for the healthy eating part. As far as supplements go, I just want to touch on that really quick. I think I should make we should probably do a separate podcast on that because I have supplements I have supplements that I buy for Lawrence. I have supplements that I take myself. And there's a lot more to supplements than people think. I would not just recommend junky supplements. Like there's so many fillers and differences in capsules and things like that. And that's probably not going to interest everyone. But as far as kids go, because I've also had a lot of friends and family come to me and ask, what kind of supplements do you give your kids? Now, I don't give our kids any green supplements because they eat a lot of vegetables and it's just not really necessary. Like they eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, but we don't eat hardly any fish. Mm-hmm. So I will buy high DHA fish oil for them. And I will give them, not all the time, it's really only around the school year or if I know someone is sick and my kids have been exposed to them. We have like elderberry zinc tablets that we will give them. I also have some liposomal vitamin C, but only our oldest child is able to swallow capsules. So that only really works for him. And also that's probably a good age, transition where they shouldn't have, that high amount when they're little. You have to go off a kid's dosage for those things. So it's really just like an immune booster and then our oldest will do methylated B vitamins because he also has the gene mutation that we both have. There's a separate podcast, is the gene mutations. So definitely subscribe to my channel. Check out our other podcasts. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. And I think we will see you next week. Oh, stay tuned. We're taking a road trip. So I'm going to be doing lots of different videos on how we're preparing for that, like how we pack for it, I'm going to do a separate one on just food, like how we pack our snacks and food and keep things cold and stuff for a road trip. And I think we're going to do our very first family vlog. I'm so excited. We'll see. And Lawrence is obviously going to be the designated driver because I'm going to be editing YouTube videos on my phone. That should be a fun learning curve for me. Yay. All right. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye.